morning and welcome to Coffee and Chats. My name is Lindsay Giese and I'm the Executive Director for River Arts Inc. And today I am joined by Darcy Miller, author extraordinaire. Of course, we're both joined by John Joseph Coffee, the only coffee we drink in Sauk Prairie.
True.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, John Joseph Coffee. Darcy, I am so excited. I have so many questions for you because I live in the arts world, but I don't actually know a lot about how the behind the scenes of literary arts.
Sure.
So this is exciting. So get ready. But like I start with all coffee chats, can you please, in your own words, give us a little bit about your background?
Sure. I am originally from Minnesota, and I actually ended up going to undergrad in Beloit, so just south of Madison, right on the Wisconsin-Illinois border. And then after that, I kind of bummed around for a few years, and I ended up moving to Missoula, Montana for graduate school, which is where I met Ben, my husband, who a lot of people know as the former Sauk City Library director. It's a real book family.
Yes.
So then when we decided to have kids, we wanted to move back to the Midwest to be closer to my family and my brother. So we ended up moving to Iowa, and then we quickly ended up moving away from Iowa, and Ben got the job in Sauk City, and we've been here ever since. We love it here.
Was Ben into books when you met then too? Has he always been in?
He worked at the Missoula Public Library, which is how I sort of met him, kind of.
Oh, so romantic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. I was wondering how you both ended up here, because you seem like just a local family who's lived here forever.
It's been 10 years now, so we've been here a while. I know that still doesn't make us local.
We'll never be local.
Never be local, but we're close. We're close.
You're close. Yes, I love it. I'm going to change things up today and start with a bunch of icebreaker kind of random questions. I guess I shouldn't call it changing things up because these chats are always pretty random questions, but these are really random in my opinion. Okay, first one, Culver's curds or custard?
Ooh, it's like Sophie's choice. I'm gonna go with custard.
Okay.
But I don't feel great about that decision.
Is a specific flavor?
I like the almond chocolate crunch one is my favorite. And I also really like their chocolate malts.
Oh, and so, I mean, you're from the Midwest, so you were no stranger to Culver's before you moved here, correct?
Actually, no, I don't think I'd ever been to a Culver's until we moved here.
Well, you waited for the original, which is...
Exactly. I mean, why mess with the rest when you can have the best?
Okay, favorite place in Sauk Prairie? It could be in like a business or someplace outside. Like, what comes to mind?
Favorite place in Sauk Prairie?
Besides River Arts on Water and the libraries. Those are obvious.
Those are obvious. And you got me because I was going to say the library, the new library, which is very exciting. I mean,
beautiful.
It's beautiful. I see your mug. I love John's coffee shop. I can't wait until it's open again. It's going to be so exciting. My friends and I used to get together once a week there every morning. Remember when we could like see friends and go places?
Well, I talked to John before this chat to see if he had questions for you. And so John was wondering, is your writing impacted by the company you keep while you write and the coffee you drink?
Well, the coffee obviously helps a lot. We have 2 small kids. Well, they're getting slightly bigger now, but I'm fairly exhausted most of the time. So the coffee, as dark as you can possibly get, no sugar, no cream, black as night. That's how I take my coffee. And the company I keep, no, that doesn't really matter much to me.
Okay.
I try not to read books in the same sort of genre that I'm writing in at the moment, because then you start to sort of steal things from them without realizing it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my technique, is to not read other books in the same genre that I'm currently writing in. But
Good tip. Good tip. Okay. Now some of these I think have some stories behind these questions. They came from your husband.
which
How
he
do you,
did not tell me about. So
oh,
we'll see.
sneaky. I love it. Um, how do you eat a Kit Kat? Can you please describe the full
I eat a Kit Kat the right way, which is you break it in half and then you sort of nibble all the way around the four outside edges.
Mhm.
And then you break it into individual wafer layers and eat those one at a time.
Oh, see, I was with you on the eat around, but I didn't know you could break apart the wafer
Oh,
layer.
you can break them apart, definitely. It
Oh,
takes a little practice, but it's definitely worth it. I would highly recommend the
interesting.
right way to eat a Kit Kat.
Okay. Well, for Halloween this year, I might like forego the trick or treating part, but just buy a bunch of Kit Kats and just practice eating them.
I
Like
think
that's
that's
a safe
wise.
way to practice Halloween trick or
That
treating.
seems like a good decision.
Would you rather stick your hand into a bucket of mashed bananas or eat a bite of fried chicken?
Oh,
And he did give me a little bit of background to that you're a vegetarian.
I am. I mean, I would rather eat the chicken. It sounds delicious, but I would have to stick my hand into a bucket of banana. Oh, I have a thing against overripe bananas. I eat
Oh,
them practically green. Anything else is unacceptable.
so will you make banana bread?
I will, but it kind of makes me gag a little bit.
Okay.
But our 7-year-old is a big baker, so he likes to make banana bread. So I will do it with him, but I don't like it. I like the banana bread when it's made, but I don't like the process.
It's a very, very specific dislike. Last random question. How many ball gowns do you own and how often do you wear them?
I own too many. Um, I have like 5, I think. I think I wore one for a wedding.
Oh,
Um, I haven't gotten an opportunity to wear the other ones yet, but I am certain that at some point they will come in handy. So,
you,
so it's better to have them
yeah,
just in case.
you probably could just wear them around the house right now. Like, why not?
Hmm, I definitely could.
Yeah, get dressed up, have
I don't
your
know
own
why I don't.
gala.
Well, because we have 3 cats and a dog, I guess. That's probably why.
Yeah. Okay, we'll plan a big event so that you can wear that gown.
I would very much appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm there for you.
That would be exciting.
So now I want to dig into all sorts of book questions. I've got a long list
Great.
here. I don't feel like you're getting interrogated. I hope you don't feel that way. But I was wondering, what was your experience like publishing your first book? When did that happen? And how was that path to that point? I would imagine it's not easy.
That's super easy. No. So I sort of always knew that I wanted to be a writer. I mean, if you look back, that was what I always said in like elementary school by your picture or whatever. It was always, I want to be a writer when I grow up. And then I went to college, and it turned out that a lot of other people wanted to be writers too, and they were all way better than me, um, or at least very different. And so I kind of gave up on that for a while. I kind of chickened out. And then when I went to grad school, it was for teaching. It was for literature studies because I thought I wanted to be a teacher. And then I taught some graduate classes to undergrads, and I was like, oh wait, no, I don't want to be a teacher either. By that point, I had met Ben, and we'd gotten married, and then we had kids and moved to the Midwest. And when I was pregnant with our first kid, that was when I really sort of buckled down and start trying to write seriously. And so I think it took me several years, and I used to have the number memorized, but I can't remember now. But it was
COVID does that. It's
COVID does that. But yeah, so I wrote a book, and obviously it wasn't very good. So then I wrote another one and another one. And I think around my third book that I'd written is when I started trying to find a literary agent, which is sort of the next hurdle that you have to get over. So you send out queries, which are basically just a short email, like trying to make your book sound super exciting so that a literary agent will want to read it, because they get, dozens, if not hundreds of these queries every day. So I think I queried something around 150-ish agents. And then I ended up getting one, which was incredibly exciting. And so I worked with her on this book, and we made it, the best possible version that it could be. And we ended up sending it out on submission, is what it's called, where my agent takes my manuscript and sends it out to editors at publishing houses that she would think would be a good fit for it. Which it takes forever. And it's you're checking your email, dozens of times. I think I got like carpal tunnel from checking my email so often. But eventually we had to face the fact that that first book wasn't going to sell, which was okay, because by that point I'd written another book. So we sent that one out on submission as well. That one didn't sell. I had written another book. We sent that one out. And it was finally my fourth book that we sent out on submission. So several years after I'd gotten this agent, that we ended up selling this middle grade book that I'd written to HarperCollins, which was very exciting. I mean, I'm married and have 2 kids, and it was probably the most exciting moment of my life.
Yeah.
Selling the book.
Yeah.
No offense, family. So that it took many years and many rejections, but it was incredibly exciting when it finally happened.
Yeah. What happens to those first books? They're just something that your family can read, or what?
Oh, no, they can't read them. No, they're not very good. I mean, it's like with anything else, right? You try something the first time and you're all excited and you're like, this is amazing. But then after a while you realize, oh, maybe it's not so great. And you just try it again and get better every time you do it.
Yeah. So you have the first book published. Was then the path to the second book getting published easier, quicker?
It was much easier. The deal I signed with HarperCollins, this was in 2017. So it was for a 2-book deal. So they bought the middle grade book that I had written, which is called Roll, and it's about pigeon rolling, which is an actual sport that my dad competes in. So they bought that book, and then at the same time they also bought another book of mine that I hadn't written yet. So they specified it had to be another middle grade book.
Okay.
So then I ended up writing my second book, Margot and Mateo Save the World, after I'd finished all the edits on Roll and turned that in.
We're going back to that learning experience. The first books that you wrote, were those that middle grade age level as well?
They weren't actually. The first one I ever wrote was for adults, and then my next few ones were for young adults, so teenage years. And it wasn't until Roll that was the first time I'd ever tried writing middle grade, which I hadn't thought that I would enjoy so much, but it's really, really super fun, and that's kind of my thing now, I guess, is middle grade.
What age level would you say is middle grade?
It varies. I'd say 8 to 12 is kind of what people generally say, but I mean, it just depends so much on the reader, on the kid themselves. You can be 7, or you could be 15, or you could be 50. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of the. Yeah.
I hear ya. Did you have any random odd jobs that you did along the way before getting published? As many artists do.
Probably the coolest job I ever had was in high school, and after college I worked in a video store, which was the best because I love movies, and you just could watch all the movies you want and get all the movies for free. And I just kind of feel sad for teenagers nowadays that that's not going to be a thing anymore. That you can't work at video stores anymore. But yeah, that was my favorite job, definitely.
Yeah.
I never had any like, like wacky,
Yeah.
like I was a grave digger or nothing. I didn't have anything like that. I worked at colleges and I worked in libraries and I did work one summer or a little bit longer for the Texas State Archives, and I lived in Texas for a while. And well, nobody tell on me, but I was getting a copy of the Texas Declaration of Independence
Cool.
to give to someone, and I dropped it and accidentally stepped on it, but it was encased. It was encased in the plastic, so it was a-okay. I did not tell anyone
What
about
did
that
you
though.
step on it? Was it just like a panic? Like,
I think I was like stepping while I dropped, and it was like so horrifying that
oof.
I don't know. Nobody at work ever found out about it, and it was completely fine.
And now
So
no, you won't get hired back there ever. So
it's probably true.
you don't need to. It's all good. Um, after you're published, what's the process then? Because I would imagine the work doesn't stop. Are you helping to promote the book, or do you do book tours? Like, what's the after process?
So the interesting thing, I think, is how long it takes from when, for anything in the publishing world, it's just notoriously slow. So, I mean, when you're, as far as going back to querying, you can email an agent and maybe hear from them 6 months later, like a year later. I think it was like almost 2 years after the fact, I got a rejection from some agents. I mean, it's just phenomenally slow, just because they're so busy. So after I ended up signing the contract on Roll, there was still, first you have to go through first you do the big edits. They send you this like edit letter, and it's usually like single spaced and 3 or 4 pages long. And it's just sort of a big list of like everything that's wrong with your book.
That feels good.
It feels great, yeah. But it is very helpful. I mean, they do this for a living, so they know their business.
Yeah.
So you go through and you make these big changes, and then you work on the smaller changes in your book, like maybe I don't understand why this character would say this here, or is this motivation really right for this character? This not the big sort of overarching things, but just the littler things is the sort of the second round. And then you do the copy edits, which are even smaller things, like on this page you said this character was wearing a blue shirt, and on this page it's green, or here this day is Tuesday and here's Thursday. What happened to Wednesday? It's all those small things
I
that
ask
luckily you
that
have
all
somebody
the
to catch for
time.
you.
I ask that question every day. Like, what day is it?
Yeah.
After this day, where are we?
Especially these days, right?
Yeah.
Um, so then you do copy edits, and then you wait for your ARC. It's called your advanced reader copy, which is just like a cheap version of your book printed on like a paper backing. And so they send that out to reviewers, and the marketing sends it to different people to try to get them to read it so they can review your book. And then about a year later, so it takes about a year from when you first start working on this book, you have the final draft, well, the final draft of it. And then about a year later, you finally see the actual hardcover book. And then if you're a famous author, you get to go on book tours. I am not a famous author, so I don't get to do that.
Yes.
But I did end up speaking to a lot of libraries and going to classrooms around the state, which has been really fun and cool. And kids ask very fun questions. And
Have you been like spoken at Stock Prairie School classes yet?
oddly enough, I haven't done Sauk Prairie, which seems weird in
You've heard it
retrospect.
here. Yes, you've heard it here. We need to get Darcy in those classrooms. Maybe not right now, but someday.
Not right now, yes. I have spoken at both libraries, so that's been fun.
Good, cool.
Yeah.
How does like the book cover artwork come about? Do you have a say in that, or is that all through the publisher?
No, yep, I have no say in it. Luckily, I really lucked out. I loved both of my covers, but the design team on the front, the publishers sort of decide what the concept that they're going for is, and then they'll hire an artist to work on it. And so in my case, they showed me the cover for Roll, my first book, and I had a few little tweaks that I wanted to make, and they were more than happy to do that. But I think maybe if you're a really famous author, again, you probably get more say and stuff like that. But no, I really lucked out. I loved both my covers so far. So,
Oh, interesting.
mhm.
Ooh, oh, what are you currently working on?
So this is a little tricky. I have something that I'm working on currently, and I'm super duper excited about it. But I can't actually tell you yet.
Oh, tease.
So there's something in the works for next fall. That's very exciting, and I feel kind of like a jerk being like, haha, you can't know about it. But I'm not supposed to talk about it yet. But I'm working on something that's again for middle grade, and it's been incredibly fun to work on, and I think it's my favorite book that I've written so far. So I'm very
How,
excited about it.
how has that process been with having kids at home and trying to write, and how do you juggle it all?
Yeah, it's a little rough, right? When I My very first book that I wrote ever, my first young adult one, I remember I wrote when our oldest son was a newborn, and I was nursing him in the middle of the night, and I would write one-handed,
Oh,
and that was way easier than it is now trying to write.
yeah. Wow.
Just because everyone's in the house at all times. But Ben has been great. He's been able to work from home during the quarantine as well. And so he's been carving out time of his day where he watches the kids and tries to help with their school. And then I run up and hide in this room and try to get as much writing done as I possibly can.
Yeah.
But
Are
it was definitely easier when my children were at school.
yeah. Are you writing, are your books autobiographical? Like the pigeon rolling, maybe. I don't know about Margot and Mateo. It's a little more sci-fi,
Right,
but
right. No, yeah, Roll is actually um, pretty. I stole a lot from my own life. I even accidentally used the name of my real childhood dentist that got into the book. So, hey, Dr. Sawyer. But yeah, so my dad, it's about a kid named Ren, boy, Lauren, who goes by Ren. And so obviously I'm not a boy, but a lot of the other things in the book are very similar. He grew up, or it's in a small fictional town in southern Minnesota, and he lives in the country. And he has this experience with pigeon rolling and just sort of coming of age and realizing that it's okay to maybe drift away from some friends while you find other ones, and away from different hobbies that you might have had when you were younger into something new. So that one was actually pretty it's pretty nice to write because I could just steal a lot from my own life. So it's kind of like cheating in a way. Um, but then yeah, Margot and Mateo, my second one, is about like alien tentacle monsters and that sort of stuff. So there's like a beached whale on the that may or may not explode in spectacular fashion. So that is definitely not autobiographical.
are you able to reveal if the one you're working on is or not?
It's not
Oh,
autobiographical, no.
okay. Do you find that, so it's obviously harder to write with everything going on with COVID and interruptions and kids at home. Do you feel like your writing is influenced because of what's going on? Like the darker, lighter, heavier?
Um, well, I think one of my favorite things about writing middle grade right now is that it's such an escape sort of from the real world. And so I feel like it's been, in a way, it's been easier because it's such a relief to like go into this different world where you can make anything that you want happen and it's not like the real world. So I think in a lot of ways that's been more of an escape than anything else. Um, yeah.
What is your ultimate goal? Like what's your dream goal? Is it a certain number of books being published, or like what?
Ooh.
Yeah. Do you have a big picture goal, or do you kind of go book by book and you're happy with that?
Um, I mean, yeah, I think all writers secretly want to, have like a best-selling book and be on the New York Times list. So that would be great. I would love, I would love to be able to travel more, because of my books. I'd love to be able to, do school visits or things like that to different areas, not just Wisconsin.
Mhm.
And let's see, in like my dream scenario, um, I'd love to have like a TV movie happen based on one of them.
Yeah.
That'd be exciting. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just, rich and famous, I guess.
What we all want, really.
Exactly.
Oh, well, if somebody wants to purchase your books, where
Mhm.
should they go? How can they do that?
They can go anywhere they want, basically. So they should be, I mean, they're on Amazon, obviously, but you can order them through Barnes and Noble or any of the cool independent bookstores around here. I mean, Spring Green has a great one. But yeah, basically anywhere books are sold, you should be able to find them. So
Fantastic. All right,
yeah,
check it out.
and there are copies at both libraries too, in Sauk and Prairie. So if somebody wants to check it out instead, that is great as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for coming to our community and choosing it for your home, and for being an awesome author, and for chatting with me today.
Well, thank you for having me. Like I said, this is the most social interaction I've had in months, so it's very exciting.
I love it. I loved it too. It's great to get to know you better, and
Right.
I hope to chat and see you soon
Yes, likewise.
with a gown on. It's a date. All right.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks, Darcy.